Hey guys, today this video is on knife styles, knife designs by their features, what makes a knife a certain knife. I have customers that come in the store and they're after a specific knife, like a tactical knife or a bushcraft knife or a hunting knife, and they don't know what makes one knife what it is versus what makes another knife what it is. And so this is going to be just a quick video on, well, it may not be too quick, but we'll see. But this video is going to be on design features and what makes these knives what they are. So stick around and we're going to discuss design by purpose. Now the short answer on what makes a knife what it is simple. It's just specific design features that make that knife lend itself to that task more so than any other task. Like with hunting knives for large game have gut hooks for opening the cavity, deep sweeping bellies for skinning, for separating the hide from the meat, handles with a good secure purchase for when you're dealing with tallow and oils and body fluids from the game, and either finger grooves or a swelled pommel that work in pull cuts, because with a hunting knife the majority of the cuts are pulling this way. That's why it's similar to butcher knives where they swell at the end, because they're primarily geared towards pull cutting. And so that's one of the things there. With bushcraft knives, they tend to focus on comfortable ergonomics, smooth handles that don't create hot spots, a blade geometry that has the edge that comes as close to the handle as possible, as you can see, so you can have good control. And to me, my favorite types of bushcraft knives have metal hilts that protect the forward end of the handle from abrading against other materials when you're whittling, carving, and splitting and batoning, making different tools, utensils, and objects out of natural materials in the woods. With tactical knives, they tend to have blades and points that lend themselves to penetration and stabbing, because they tend to be fighting knives. That's what they're for. Guards that keep the hand from sliding down the blade. Handles that offer a good secure purchase, and they often have a pommel for striking in the reverse direction in close quarter combat, so that they can deliver pain from either direction. And with survival knives, they tend to have features that lend themselves to escape and evasion and repurposing, like serrations, and that help preserve your edge by using those in rough materials rather than your primary edge, such as when you're cutting sheet metal, cutting plastics, whatever. They have, as a rule, good texture on the handles for a good secure purchase, and either have swells, forward swells, or guards to keep the hands from sliding down, because like tactical knives, they're designed for push cutting through whatever penetration resistant materials, and etc. And then, you know, a lot of them will have either a hammer pommel or like a glass breaking pommel, and as the Gerber strong arm here has the glass breaker pommel. But there's more to it than just that even, and with the sheaths and how the blades function in certain things and how some of them can cross over. So I'm going to take a few minutes and reconfigure the studio, and we'll get into the next segment and actually discuss in depth some of these design features and discuss them in use. And so it'll give you a better understanding of what makes each of these styles of knives what they are. And when I said we'd look at the sheaths, the scabbards, as some people call them, the type of sheath a knife comes with gives you a lot of clues as to what type of knife it is, if you're not already familiar with it. For instance, hunting knives. Hunters, you know, when we're hunting, we do a lot of climbing over dead tree limbs, walking through brush fields, walking through briars and brambles, that sort of thing. So we like some retention on the sheaths. We like for the blade to not get hooked on some briars or on a vine or a limb of a scrub brush and snatched out of our sheath without us knowing about it, and then find out hours later that we no longer have a knife. Bushcrafting, for the most part, knife retention isn't a big deal. It's more of a therapeutic activity, really, of walking through the woods and spending time turning dead twigs into either fire or tools or utensils or pieces of art, etc. So knife retention isn't as much a big deal as ease of getting it in and out of the sheath while working with it, so you can put it up, move things around, get it back out, do some more cutting. And so for that sort of thing, they just don't need a lot of retention for the blade, and that kind of gives it away. For tactical knives, on the other hand, they require a lot of retention, especially if they're going to be going to someone who's going into air assault or airborne. Those knives are required to have multiple retention points in order to be jump qualified. That's why K-Bar does these sheaths this way. They have 2 snaps, and they also lock in right here, and you can see, you can hear it, and then that locks it in, and that locks it in. And then with survival knives, retention and then still ease of access are both kind of required or wanted by a lot of people. The SE sheath is pretty secure. It requires pushing out with a thumb or pulling out. And you can. This one is, I guess, a couple of years old, and you can still hear it snap in. So, and then this one has a boot belt clip, which is one of the systems I like because I can relocate it to different parts of my body very easily, from on my belt to in my boot or in my pocket or in my pack, or just in the seat of the car or the truck if I'm going in somewhere. As far as what a sheath is really for, the primary goal of the sheath is to protect you, the person carrying the knife, from the knife. But the more extreme the activity that's going to be coming along, the more complex the sheath gets, like with the retention strap on the hunting knife. With the K-Bar, it's a hard glass-filled nylon sheath that will protect the wearer in falls. It keeps the knife from coming through. Same with the molded sheath of the SE. With military knives, you see that theme repeated. The Navy Mark III that they give to the UDT and SEAL personnel has a very, very thick sheath and has the dual retention. It has a retention inside, which holds onto the blade, but you can see how thick that is because it's to protect the people that are wearing them from falls, high-speed falls into water, or high-speed falls into trees or whatever when they're coming out of parachutes. The same with pilot survival knives, have the metal on the back and on the tip to protect the pilots if they go parachuting into trees or have a hard landing. It keeps the knife from coming through and stabbing them. So the sheaths themselves tell you a lot about the knife, but then the knife blades themselves kind of give their uses away. With bushcraft knives having edges that come back in nice, no big guards, nothing to get in the way, so it's just a very comfortable, very utilitarian kind of deal. With hunting knives, they make for pull and push cuts, well, primarily pull cuts. That's why this one has such a swelled pommel. The saddle horn pommel on the Case Hunter is very secure purchase in pulling when you're rocking that belly, separating the hide from the meat. But also it has a guard for the finger, as you can see there. If you're going to penetrate the hide for the first time, or if you've got tallow on your hands, it keeps your hand from sliding up the edge and getting a nasty cut. As we've already discussed with the K-Bar this particular K-bar anyway, the Tanto, the blade lends itself both to penetration and durability with that Tanto tip. So you have a fine point for penetration, and you have a guard to keep your hand from slipping, and you have a good textured surface for grip and pommel for reverse strikes. So that combined with this style sheath makes it a very viable option for a tactical knife. But that's the overview on the knives and what gives away what they're made for and the types of elements. With bushcraft knives, another element is a lot of times the guys want a fire steel attached to it, and then they want a squared spine that will throw sparks. Being more a student of survival, I'm the exact opposite of that. I prefer a rounded spine with broken edges, so it's less likely to break when using it for an improvised pry bar, and I prefer to carry a fire starter that either has a ferro rod and striker inside or is flame based. I almost always have my Zippo on me. Just don't always know what pocket it's in. But sometimes, you know, here in the East Appalachian temperate rainforest, fire right now can be the difference between life and death. So I always have some way to make flame instantly, if at all possible. If I don't, that means something's gone wrong and I'm down to using contingencies. But hopefully that gives you a little better understanding of what makes different knives what they are, and we'll get further into this later on when we take them out in the field and put them to task in, you know, their common uses, and then also show some crossover, because there are knives on the market that to me are kind of combination bushcraft tactical knives. The case, the Kyle Lamb, sorry, and Dan Winkler collaboration is one of them, and I like it a lot. It's kind of a spear point design, so it has a really strong tip, but it also gives me plenty of texture to grip onto and to choke up on for control of the blade and doing what I want. It's also thick enough to handle some hard use. So anyway, we'll go into that later on in the next video on fixed blades. We'll get them out in the woods and we'll out on the testing grounds, and I'll show you some of the reasons why the features are what they are and how they, you know, play a role in how the knife performs. And I think that will give people a lot better understanding of what's what as far as what a knife is made for. So thank you for joining us for this video, and I hope that this gives you food for thought and a little more information and helps you have a better understanding of what makes specific knives what they are, or at least what makes good versions of them what they are, what they're supposed to be. And you get to see, you know, the information, or got to see information that will help you have a more informed decision on choosing your next fixed blade knife for whatever purpose, whether it's for you or whether it's for someone else. And you know, Christmas is coming up. A lot of different units are graduating basic training, AIT, boot camp, that sort of thing. So, you know, we routinely have a lot of people come in the shop to pick up K-bars for their graduating troops, and you know, having them engraved with the graduation date, or buying equipment for them to take to the field when they deploy. And then, so hopefully this helps you see what makes certain types of knives what they are, what makes the good versions of those knives what they are, what makes them better than others, and hopefully that allows you to make a more informed decision on how you go about your purchase in the future. So thank you for joining us, and stop in and see what we're doing next time. Who knows what I'll be getting into then. And have a blessed day.